Hello, and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 18, John and Wendy Talk to Cheryl Nelson. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Wendy. How are you tonight, John?
I'm very well. Excited to talk a little bit about something that you and I have been kicking around for SHRM 18 and want to talk about it tonight to give people a little bit of time to prepare. Talked a lot about the fact that we have not done interviews of each other than when we did episode 0. We talked a little bit about our origin of the show, but wanted to give the listeners and the people that have been so supportive of us an opportunity to take part in the conversation. Wendy, I'll let you explain what we're going to do.
So we are excited to ask you guys, what do you want to know? Submit your questions. Ask us whatever you want. We do reserve the right to review and use which ones we want. But tweet us, Facebook us, send it to our email, whatever questions you think that you would like to know. And we will ask them of each other in a very special episode. And if we get a bunch of questions, we reserve the right to edit and, again, pick the ones that we think will make the best podcast. But maybe we'll have some fun with the other questions that we don't use for the main podcast in other ways throughout our time together. So, again, tweet to us, Facebook us, or email us. If you tweet or Facebook, be sure to use the hashtag HR Social Hour so we will see it.
What we'll ask is if you have particular questions that you want to ask to me or to Wendy, just note which person it's for. And again, what we'll do is I will take the questions for Wendy, she'll take the questions for me, and we'll discern through them. And as she said, we do reserve the right. If there's things we don't want to talk about, guess what? It's our show. It's what we're going to do. But we felt like it was a great opportunity to let you be part of the show. For those of you maybe that haven't been able to take part in another way yet, send those questions. Let us know who it's for. We're going to let you have up through June 15th, which is right before the start of SHRM 18. The show is going to be released the 7th, so you'll have a little bit of time to do that. But again, send the questions, Facebook, email, Twitter. Talked a lot about that and giving the people the opportunity there. Let's let you introduce our guest and we'll get going.
Sure. I am so excited to welcome Cheryl Nelson to the podcast. I had the opportunity to meet Cheryl in real life at Disrupt HR Minneapolis last fall. So again, happy to have you here. Cheryl is a human resources professional passionate about HR, the business of law, leadership, social media, community volunteerism, and all things purple, including the Minnesota Vikings. Skol! Her responsibilities are a mix of HRIS, recruiting, employment law, compliance, and leadership. She enjoys recruiting and showcasing key reasons to join their progressive law firm. One of her many talents is as grill master. She is able to get candidates to spill the beans and reveal where the skeletons are buried. That is very intriguing there, Cheryl. We'll get into that later. Welcome to the podcast. And our first question, as always, is what's in your glass?
Hi, well, thank you guys for having me. Just Diet Coke. That's generally what's in my glass.
Cheryl, I'm curious, how did you land in this wonderful world of human resources? How did you decide to pursue this as a profession?
Well, I didn't start out thinking about it, human resources, but years and years ago, I worked at a defense contractor. I was in their office out in the assembly department, and an opening came up in HR, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I applied, and there were several other internal applicants, and I got the job. And one of the main reasons I got the job was because I was the only one who submitted a resume and cover letter. So, and that started my interest in HR.
So you've been with Robins Kaplan for many years. What kind of changes have you seen not only in HR, but also in the legal profession?
Well, there have been a lot of changes, obviously. When I started, there was no email, so everything was communicated by typewritten memos and inter-office to each other. There was no voicemail, so we took calls and handwritten messages. Of course, there were no cell phones, and I worked for the CFO and the HR director at that time. And so when a partner needed the CFO now, there was no way to reach him like there is today. That always made it interesting. We did have an HRIS system and an outsourced payroll, so that was good. But I backed that up every night onto hard disks.
Wow.
And it was quite interesting. The dress code was much more formal then than it is now. And a couple things about the legal profession. I love the legal profession. But each year as I grow older, the first year incoming associates, they look younger and younger. And this year, we just started the summer associate program, and they look 12. So, and then one of the best and most welcome changes, I probably can speak for everybody involved in legal, was when the courts finally recognized that we could change from legal size paper to letter size paper. It was a nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
It's the simple things, but boy, it made life a lot easier.
I understand that. When I started in recruiting, it was all paper, and who knew what a computer was? You just didn't use them. But no, I can appreciate that. I like the paper switch. I've never really thought about that. What's your favorite component of your work? What really gets you excited or keeps you excited about being in HR?
One of my favorite parts, I love strategizing with our hiring managers on recruiting talent. And I mean, that's a lot of fun. And we've been doing a lot of that this year. And I just finished up with a hiring attorney that was creative and really thought outside the box to get a key candidate, and just found out today that she accepted. So he's very excited about that. I love working with our HRS system. Our HR payroll team, we've got HR technology. It can be frustrating at times, but it's a lot of fun, and we laugh a lot. So those are probably two of my favorite parts of HR. And what keeps me excited, because it's an ever-changing role, and every day is a new day. That, along with connecting with other pros like you guys, it's been phenomenal. There's just something new always to learn, always to get intrigued about. So it just keeps me excited.
So Cheryl, recently you started your blog, Color Me HR. If I'm remembering correctly, that was one of the goals that you set for yourself when we were talking about resolutions on the HR Social Hour chat. Mm-hmm. It was something about that. So how has the response been, and what advice would you give to others considering starting their own blog?
Very favorable among my HR. That's one of the best things about our HR community is we support and celebrate each other. So that's been fun. And some of my coworkers in my legal community are following, and they like it. It's not a huge following yet. I'm not Steve Brown, but
who is?
But that's going to come, I think, as I continue to put myself out there. I love it, and my advice would be just to do it. I thought about it for so long, and I saw the fun everybody was having with it, and plus, I love learning from each other. So I decided to see if I could figure it out, and I did. And that's what advice I give to others. In fact, I gave a couple of people are thinking about it, and yet they write really nice posts on LinkedIn. I said, that's your blog. Just put it in the blog format. Mm-hmm. So
awesome.
I couldn't let this pass, Cheryl, because and I'm going to tell you, and as I told Wendy before we got on the phone tonight, when I first saw Girlmaster stuff, I thought you were referring to cooking. And I was all excited to talk to you about cooking and that. I am very, very curious. Where in the world did you get the Girlmaster name? And I want to know where the skeleton's actually buried.
Well, you're not the only one that thought that meant cooking, but I hate to cook, so I have to shatter your dreams there. But when we were coming up, we had an HR strategy meeting, and we were coming up with how do we describe ourselves? And I thought of mine, and it really is a grill master, because you'd be surprised what people will tell you. And I've done, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews. But I'll start off and we'll talk about their job history, and I'll ask why they left or how they landed their next job and that kind of thing. Then later on, I'll ask, so, have you been fired, or have you ever been asked to leave your position? And then the truth comes out. Well, I guess you could call that it was a mutual parting of the ways, those types of things. And that, and another technique I just use is I'm quiet and I let people talk. And we had a character come in for a second interview one time, And he really blew us away the first time, but we wanted him to meet other people. He came in, and he was going to work in our mail room. I had some more follow-up questions, and then he just started talking. And he told us about he was quite a prankster. And one of his pranks in the mailroom, he worked at a mailroom in another law firm. When mail came in, there was a check that came in, and he took it outside and drove over it with his car a few times, just for a prank. We didn't think that would be too funny where we
Wow.
were. So people will just tell you a lot of things. So I love to get those little nuggets out of people.
Oh, my goodness. That's hysterical. All right, Cheryl. Well, now it is time for everyone's favorite part of our show, the half-hour question connection. So do you remember how you first connected with us?
I put not exactly, but I love to read and share blogs and articles, and so that's where I would have met you two through Twitter and or LinkedIn. That's where I start. I usually will connect with people when I see an article, and of course, out in Twitter, there's so many articles and so many blogs and so many HR people. It's great. And then I was excited to meet you, Wendy, in real life last October. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Cheryl, can you talk to us about how networking has helped you in your career and what's been really effective for you when it comes to networking?
It's been invaluable to me and my firm. My firm has always taken it seriously when we participate in professional associations. I attended a lot of local HR meetings with other legal professionals. We share ideas and forums and all that kind of stuff. That's helped tremendously because in our firm and many other firms, when we want to propose something new or undertake a program or change something, one of the first questions our managing partner will ask is, what are the other firms doing? So all of us do our homework and we poll each other and that kind of thing. So that's been invaluable. And another way it's been really, really helpful, it's really helped me come out of my shell. It's gotten me into leadership. I've been in leadership at local and national levels, and it just helped me at work, and it made a difference in how I'm perceived, how I perceive myself. And you just kind of rise to the occasion when you're put in leadership positions. The networking, and you don't do that alone. You do that with people. You do that with connections. It really, it's just a tremendous. You can't get anywhere without networking and connecting with people, in my opinion.
Cheryl, how do you enjoy giving back to the HR community?
Well, one of the things I do, I've been a strong supporter of like a lot of the HR blogs and articles and things like that. I share how much I can, wherever I can. I put in a good word for people. And then I participate in our local legal association. I'm a mentor to especially to other HR people coming in. Right now, I'm a formal mentor to one and an informal one to the other. So I love sharing, getting them involved in not only the association, but sharing HR articles and resources with them. That's just been ongoing for me. I love doing that.
Who do you like to read or follow when it comes to gaining new HR insight, Cheryl?
Well, when I first started, there are many, many, of course. When I first started out, I started following Charlene Lobby, HR bartender, Steve Bosey, John Sumser, and Jennifer McClure. And I started out with them because they were all at a conference that I attended, and they got me hooked on social media and on things like Flipboard and Feedly and all that kind of stuff. So they started the whole thing, and today I still follow them as well as many others. A lot of people are my favorites, but Steve Brown is an absolute favorite. I love Tim Sackett's wit, his sarcastic wit. So I follow him, and I follow everybody because everybody's got a different flavor, different twist on their thinking and stuff, and it's just been invaluable. And I use a lot of what I learned from all of you guys at our firm.
Very cool. Cheryl, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, hands down, it's Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that, yes.
How about your favorite musician or band?
Well, this is going to date me, and it's really hard to come up with one, but overall, my very favorite is the Rolling Stones. I will drop anything when they come on.
They've been around for a long time.
I don't think that dates you at all.
But you know what? I'm fine with that because I am a baby boomer.
How about your favorite TV show?
Well, there's a lot of shows I love, but anything on Investigation ID, and I love Criminal Minds because I have been long fascinated with true crime and serial killers. I can't get enough of that stuff.
So you do know where all the skeletons are buried.
Yeah, well, let me just say I learn a lot, and so I stay away from white vans and those kinds of things.
I have to dig deep once again tonight, Cheryl, but I have it's a sideways connection with Gone with the Wind. I worked with a guy previously. If he is not the preeminent collector, he is considered one of the top collectors of Gone with the Wind memorabilia in the world.
Really?
And has written at least one book on the subject. He's a communications guy, and of course, for many years, the rumor was the Jefferson Hotel, which is here in Richmond, that the Grand Stairwell was the basis of the stairwell for the movie. Not true, but anyhow, like I said, digging a little deep tonight. But again, he was. I know he wrote at least one book. So there you go. That's our connection.
Yes, great connection.
So if you're not watching Gone with the Wind, listening to the Stones, or watching Criminal Minds or some of the true crime things that are out there, what else do you like to do outside of work?
In the summer, we fish and camp all summer. In the winter, I just kind of stay hibernated in the house after work. And I'm on my iPhone all night. I play Words with Friends a lot, and I do a lot of reading. So those are my pastimes.
Last question is, if you weren't in HR, what do you think you'd be doing professionally?
That was a tough one because I just can't imagine not doing HR. But I would probably do the next best thing. It'd have to be in a leadership role. So I probably would take a stab at legal administrator in a small firm, because they have their hands on everything. The only thing that would be a downfall for me is the finance area. That's not my strength. So
you would just have to delegate that to somebody, right?
I would have to do that, yes.
Well, Cheryl, you have successfully survived the question connection, the conversation as a whole. While I'm disappointed about the Grill Master not being cooking, I'm very glad you joined us tonight. This is your chance now to tell the listeners what's the best way to reach you out there on the internet.
Well, I'm all over social media. ColorMeHR.com is my blog. You can find me at Cheryl Nelson PHR on Twitter and Cheryl Nelson on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect with people.
We will be sure to put all that in the show notes. And Color Me HR is with a K, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Wendy, how about you?
As always, best way to connect with me is on Twitter. I am Windall93, WINDALL 93, or on my blog, mydailyjourney.com. Daily is D as in dog, AILEY. And the fourth Sunday of each month, you will find me on Twitter at 7 p.m. Eastern time for the HR Social Hour Twitter chat. How about you, John?
Can always find me on Twitter, John, Jon_Thurmond, THURMOND. Happy to connect on LinkedIn. Again, if you would, send a personalized invite. I appreciate that. If you have a question or comment, or want to make sure that you get a question for our upcoming interview of each other episode, please make sure you send us an email. That's hrsocialhourpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, where you can also post those questions. Hint, hint. If you search HR Social Hour, you can find the show at hrsocialhourpodcast.podbean.com. We're on iTunes, the Podbean app, Podchaser, hrpodcasters.com, Google Play, and TuneIn. As always, we'll simply ask to rate and review. The more visibility that we have and the more ratings, the positive vibes and feedback that we get always helps the show. We really do appreciate it when you do that. Again, Cheryl, thanks for being with us tonight for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network. Take care, everyone.
We'll see ya.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye, Cheryl.